be battling out to see if they can emerge to the grand finals on the upper bracket side. As now all the production is just like gasping. They're like, Rafa, how could you do that?
spam colon or capital D colon in the chat if you if you want to let Rafa know that he's being inappropriate.
Oh my god.
What did I do to deserve this?
It's all friendly banter. I call you that out of affection, Max. It is a term of endearment. Now, we talked about the Baron laners, we talked about the supports. I think another one has to go, obviously, towards the jungle. Yikes being one of the few junglers that plays Pantheon, especially the only jungler that has really invested time into the Pantheon, at least on stage, which has been mostly a jungler that is primarily played in Europe. Whereas Tarzan was our first Graves player in the Summoner series, just bringing a little bit of the carry jungle flavor, where saying, you know what, not going for the early pressure, looking to mainly be a scaling-oriented jungler. And Immortals already recognizing that, they ban it away because they know that the way that Cloud9 usually like to play, they love playing around Tarzan. They're trying to give him a lot of resources. They opt into, as we even saw earlier on in the Summoner series, where we saw the Dragon duo in the mid lane, giving Tarzan access to both Scuttle Crabs, funneling all those resources. But without Graves, I wonder if Tarzan will dip down into something like a Kha'Zix or a Rengar, that is a jungle that still can scale up pretty heavily and loves resources, or if he's going to bring out the Lee Sin just like we saw yesterday.
Lee Sin, one of the very highly prioritized junglers, and will be the option for Tarzan. There it is. As the Ashe does come through for Immortals. So Immortals have actually recognized the same thing that Sentinels have, which is that Ashe has a lot of power, being both a supportive champion and one that can deal a lot of damage. I'm wondering now if Game is going to be pulling out the same sort of build that we saw from Rest, as they are going to be picking Lulu with it. This is that same duo, and they did lose to it against Sentinels yesterday. The Immortals in this matchup actually are the only team that have lost a game in this tournament, in the upper finals, and Cloud9, they've clean swept through everything. They're locking in Misfortune. Wow.
I'm going to see if production has access to Misfortune stats across the entire Summoner series, because
they're probably
if my memory serves correctly, I just want to see if this is the first time that we're seeing Misfortune in a Wild Rift Summoner series game ever, because this is, and they're pairing it with the Thresh. Oh my gosh, Max, it's your lucky day.
It is my lucky day. Now, I'm not that big a fan of Misfortune, so maybe Griff can surprise me with this, but I do love me some Thresh. And the thing that I love most about this champion is the consistency that it provides with Flay and Dark Passage. I think both of these abilities are phenomenal to use. I don't find a lot of consistency with Death Sentence in the box as much. So I think he's sort of just a two-trick pony, as we are seeing Death Sentence as the start for Jackie. Trying to get over this wall.
I think you are correct. So far, the consistency for Death Sentence not proving out. And it does mean that Jackie's level 1 is not as potent, not starting out the Flay. Not sure how much it will change the outcome of this laning phase, as Charm and Goom already trying to take advantage, but the Death Sentence will land onto Goom, and hey, if you can land them, you can take it. Huge trades. It's a big gamble, Smacks. You either go big or you go home.
Or you take Flay and go big every single time, because that spell is actually good. I wish I was joking, but I really am not. That ability is very, very good. We will see Jackie skill it now. A lot more pressure in this lane, especially if you land that spell, but it's really tricky to actually do. It's such a thin skill shot to hit on the side of Death Sentence. Is getting the classic mid lane scuffle. Tarzan doesn't want to stick around for too long, as actually there's a third player in the game.
Oh, but look at this! Well, beautiful, clean play from Cloud9. Jackie being able to connect on the Death Sentence to Charm, as they follow up with the Resonating Strike from Tarzan. destroying their former support player. First blood for Cloud9. Majority of the pressure is on the bottom side, so the Scuttlecrab will go over to them, whereas Yikes is going to secure the top Scuttlecrab. I thought he already did, but it looks like he had helped shove in an extra wave, and they're going for the dives. This is exactly what I want to see. If you're playing Lee Sin, they force out another flash. Tarzan dashing in with Safeguard, trying to zone out Goom and Charm. So many summoner spells just based off of pressure right now. As Goon in a 1v1 with Meals, he wins out.
Meals gets taken out, but I imagine the Hoon can't survive too much longer. Perhaps the angle is to attempt and execute. And it actually comes through. Huge for Hoon. He doesn't give the kill over to anyone on the side of Cloud9. That's ridiculous stuff, as we're going to get another look at what I believe is the great hook from Jackie and the dive thereafter.
Oh, was just running down Charm, and Charm thought that by dipping into the bush would have been safe, but they had already preemptively warded it out, so they had full vision going in for that skill shot. And then, of course, so easy to land all of Lee Sin's abilities when your support has all the crowd control lined up for you. Cloud9 off to a pretty great start.
Truly, this is very impressive stuff from them. I'm so far loving the use of the Thresh. I'm less convinced about Misfortune. I think the champion isn't quite as strong as you'd expect in the laning phase. The double up is much more difficult to actually land, and you're not very mobile. So we're seeing Tarzan using his mobility to dive directly into the back line and gets taken out right away. Now the rest of Cloud9 are trying to make the team fight work, but the Ash Arrow comes across the Rift. Griff now having to flash away. Can't get enough damage down with the bullet time, and wow, that's a triple kill for Yikes.
All of our praise for Cloud9 immediately answered by Immortals with a beautiful skirmish in that bottom jungle. Notice how that Cloud9, I know you've already kind of said your points about Misfortune and not being a quote-unquote fan, but the idea of this composition is supposed to be that Misfortune is able to not only bully her way through laning phase, but also just always get lane priority, which is they use this to get access into the jungle. Now, the misplay comes in just not respecting Yikes' presence being there, and as he's able to split up the rest of the follow-up of Cloud9 not being able to help out Tarzan with the assassination of Hoon. And of course, you have to remember this Ashe, even if she's not there, she can still assist with that enchanted arrow from downtown.
Tarzan just dove too far without the squad. Unfortunately for him, the rest of his team is not as mobile as he is, so dives well beyond their reach, and then leads to Cloud9 just trickling into the members of Immortals. So that is a Rift Herald popped in the Baron lane. A late trade of Drake means that Cloud9 can't actually pressure a turret at the same time, and thus Immortals get first turret, and they don't even lose really anything on their own structures. They can keep pushing and advance into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, I mean, Yikes is huge now. Not only picking up that triple, is roughly 1,000 gold ahead of Tarzan in terms of just items right now. Trinity Force being picked up, that's not an easy item to complete, but the fact that he had it online as early as 3.5 minutes, absolutely huge. And now, Immortals game plan, whatever it was before, it's now just, all right, Charm, you were pushing with Goom, no more. You're now grouping with me. I'm the carry now. You gotta just be playing around me, because you put a Lulu with a Xin Zhao, and look at this. He's dipping into, instead of more combat stats, he's dipping into durability, opting in for the Sunfire Cape because he understands he has the largest bounty, he has all the gold, he needs to stay alive and not give up that shutdown.
Now, Sunfire Cape, in my opinion, is still a damage item, because you're not getting any resistances from it, and you're
HP.
Yes, you are getting HP. Yeah, that is the big stat, but you're using the passive a lot more, I would say. And when you build this item, you're trying to get auto attacks off a lot and just stay in the front line. So I think it's more of a Sterix item than like a Dead Man's Plate or something that is providing you with a lot of resistances. So I think a lot of players are like pushed back by the idea, oh, this is Sunfire Cape, that's a tank item. I know this from League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics, that you put this on your front line. But it's it's more of a bruiser item in this game. And I think the best use that we saw of that one is actually Sentinels, where they did this on Jarvan top yesterday.
Charm eating that death sentence, forced to flash away. The rest of Immortals are trying to prep what looks like a dive, and the rest of Cloud9 are able to read that through. Pings come in to tell them, hey, be careful. Back off. Give pressure for now. This is going to allow Charm and Goom to get a reset off, as Yikes does burn the Crescent Guard.
Gotta push the wave somehow, man. Get it in fast. He quite literally pushes the wave back. See?
I hate that.
Well, he might not have meant to do it, but at the same time, I don't know what spell
honestly
is near the ultimate for him.
Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you just want to go for the audacious charge, and the ultimate ability is right next to it, and then you just fat finger it, and you're like, oh crap. Well, all right, you know.
Anyway, it's fine.
Trinity Force does give a lot of ability haste, so you're right. The uptime on Crescent Guard is not that low. So Cloud9 and Immortals still duking it out, as Zello might be in a rough time here. Araki Zoro being able to force Zello out in the 1v1.
Not too bad from the Baron laner of Immortals. Araki's still at full HP up there too, and you can see that he's going for the one-on-one oriented build of the Blade of the Ring King. Stay in that lane forever and be that side laner. A new challenger approaches, though. Tarzan is trying to kick him to death, and does so.
Meanwhile, we have a bottom lane dive. Yikes committed to the play. Griff having to flash away, but Yikes is flashing right on top, ensuring that the Dragon Lane duo for Cloud9 cannot escape the wrath of this massive Xin Zhao.
He really is just so huge at this point on the Xin. This is so nuts at this point. You can see he's invading, he's setting up for the next Drake, and you can't get away from him either, because he's got all this utility from Lulu and Ashe, as we do get to see what Tarzan actually did to Araki.
Finds him out. Yeah, there's no Dominus anymore, so Tarzan is just getting him lower and lower. Meals even assisting out with the explosive Mega Inferno Bomb. Imagine there is the kick into the Resonating Strike. We got a fight near this Dragon Pit. Tarzan following up. Massive Misfortune ultimate as well. First bullet time. And Tarzan steals the Dragon, says thank you for the leash. Flashing over, gets the kick on to Hoon. Doesn't find the killing blow quite yet, but allows for the rest of Cloud9 to fall up on Araki Zoro. But now, yikes. He's the huge Ray boss, but a nice death sentence does land on Nagoon. Forces his flash out, but he does not go down. And Cloud9 not able to find any more. They're on the run. And overall, 2 for 3 in advantage of Immortals.
Another Drake, though, for Cloud9. They have quite a bit of scaling on their team. It's not going to feel amazing when it comes to the fights, though. As you can see, the team fight abilities that Immortals have at their disposal are too much to overcome this Xin Zhao. Very bulky in the front line, and there's that shockwave to start things off. Tarzan has enough damage to steal away the Baron, but doesn't have any more afterward to actually kill out Hoon, thanks to the shielding from the Command Protect and the Lulu as well. As we're seeing the Jackies diving in and trying to be a disruptor on Thresh, but when you don't have the rest of your front line there, Thresh is really exposed as not actually being a very tanky champion.
Cloud9 are staring at a 5,000 gold deficit right now. The early game looked so cool for them, and they had such a solid game plan playing around Dragon Lane's pressure, being able to push them around, and Tarzan really coming online with the Lee Sin as well. But a huge source of their deficit really did come from around the misplay in that bottom jungle quadrant, where Yikes just ended up picking up a triple kill, and he has been such a huge nuisance for Cloud9 to deal with, because if you look at their composition, who's supposed to kill Xin Zhao right now? If you want to kill Xin Zhao, you got to stall out the game for a little while, which is, thankfully for Cloud9, they have picked up 2 of the dragons. They are scaling into the later portions of the game. Once the Crescent Guard is down, then Meals can finally land some damage on him, but I find it very hard as Misfortune to try and deal with the Xin Zhao.
Especially when you're going for the lethality start, too. You can see that Griff is making the adjustment, going over to crit instead, but it's slightly too late, I feel. You don't have the same sustained damage that a lot of the other marksmen do. pick is flashed away from Hoon, and that allows him to survive. Meanwhile, in Dragon Lane,
Dill has been stunned up not only by the Ruthless Predator, but also the Enchanted Arrow. A nice barrel might be able to deter Rakizoro, but this is a huge Crocodile. You know he's still going for the kill, but on the flip side, around the Baron lane, Charm was routed off once again by the members of Cloud9, and Meals takes advantage of the fact that Rakizoro did dive past the turret, trying to go for that kill. Lost a lot of HP, makes it easy for Meals to clean it up and trade another one back. And Cloud9 were able to answer one turret and ahead, but Immortals also took the inner one on the Dragon Lane.
Cloud9 say, hey, we can't kill Xin Zhao. Let's go kill everybody else. As we actually can do that to them, as we get to see the original replay as the play onto Hoon, who does end up sticking around and is in range of all this crowd control. That's really sick from Jackie, flashing the death sentence forward, and then they get to kill Charm right after that, thanks to the reduced cooldown on death sentence once you land it. Tons of damage, and we're seeing that Jackie is doing a great job playing this very new support, and he's got a pretty cool build too. I'm liking the look of the Winter's approach. It's not very strong until you upgrade it. For Thresh, I would imagine, is the idea is that you're making a great use of the passive to be more tanky. When it evolves into Fimble Winter, which I don't even know if you know exists, Rafa, because we don't get to see that very often.
Well, we'll have to talk about it later, because right now, Immortals have said enough of the Thimble Winter Thresh. We're just going to take it down right now. The front line has evaporated from Cloud9 in just a matter of seconds. Tarzan looking for the Dragon's Rage Insect onto Hoon, and not even the shields from Charm is going to keep him alive. That was a beautiful bullet time as well from Griff, being able to snipe out Goom, and now the rest of Cloud9 are seeing that they can skirmish around, and they heal off of all the damage. Meals getting so much work done thanks to the Hextech Minefield. Even despite going down, they take out the raid boss, and yikes, and it's only Rakizoro to deal with Tarzan and Griff.
That was effectively a 3v5 for Cloud9 that they just won, making great use of bullet time in the end over the wall. Griff not being punished for just staying still and shooting all these bullets, but might be punished now as Araki is on the prowl. Will back away, though, knowing that the rest of Cloud9 are here, and he would have just died. A full sweep for Cloud9. 3 Drakes now, and despite the gold lead going the other way, Cloud9 are doing a great job battling back and getting into this.
Yeah, that was so damn impressive. The fact that they were able to just brute force their way through that fight despite being effectively a numbers disadvantage. The fact that they make that work out. Griff probably gets the most efficient bullet time use ever as well. I mean, when you get a full channel off of like that, then yeah, Misfortune's a pretty decent champion. You know,
true.
Probably did more damage in that game, in that fight alone over the entire game. As now a huge fight erupts. 3-man Wild Growth gets a knockup, and Tarzan doesn't get a chance to finish off Goom. But thankfully, Griff gets the full channel down, but will fall to yikes. And now, can the rest of Cloud9 members deal with the remaining advantage that Immortals have? And the answer is no. It's just the ace fully turned around. The response is there, and Immortals will now look to the Baron.
As long as Yikes gets to stay alive in these team fights, it's so easy for Immortals to make those work out. He has so much sustain with the passive healing up, and just survivability with this build, and the Crescent Guard also. That's a Baron locked in for Immortals, and yeah, they don't have any Drakes for themselves, but they have all this siege threat. And for the next few minutes, Cloud9, they have to be so wary that they don't just flat out lose the game off of one more fight.
Cloud9 did manage to pick up the 3rd dragon, though. And they are down 8,000 gold. So Cloud9, in order to win this game, they would have to dig deep into stalling out the game, holding on until the Elder Soul spawns. And then they would have to fight for it. And so far, Smacks, they have been able to take better fights in these choke points where Griff is uninterrupted, but it's a beautiful Crystal Enchanted Arrow, not only getting the stun into Tarzan, but Jackie as well, being it an AoE stun ability. Jackie has been routed off, no flash available, 2 members of Cloud9 gone, and Immortals begin their siege through the Dragon Lane.
2 successful picks for Immortals. They can keep pushing down the minions. They don't have them ready quite yet in the Dragon Lane. They are arriving shortly, and they're more focused on pressuring mid right now. They're bringing all of these waves in Baron lane, too. So we'll see if they can take any more. That's another arrow! Wow!
The Essence Reaver plus Muramana doing so much work thanks to the ability haste that Goom has invested in for himself, getting multiple ultimate abilities off, meaning more picks, more engages, more opportunities to continue breaking open the base of Cloud9. And Griff getting dove by multiple members of Immortals means that there's nowhere for him to run. 2 turrets being unlocked here. A third one going down eventually as Cloud9 trying to hold on to the remnants of their base, but that turret will fall. Tarzan trying to look for the engage, has to pop the stasis, flashing away, but a full 5-man push is in the cards for Immortals. They don't drop a single member outside of Charm. Meals trying to be the last standing hero, but game 1 will go over to Immortals. Top, but the time to capitalize on the Lee Sin is much earlier than any of the other junglers, which is why a lot of the teams prioritize the other ones, because it's a lot more difficult to execute on the small window you have as Lee Sin, because you got to get up in the face of the opposition right from the get-go. You can't, I mean, you can go for plays at level 5 when you have Dragon's range, but really you want to take advantage of your level 2, level 3 power spike, because you have so much mobility between Safeguard and Sonic Wave into Resonating Strike that no other junglers can match. And that type of just versatility and mobility is so oppressive when played and executed correctly.
I mean, not to mention his damage is top-notch at that stage of the game, too. If you land Sonic Wave, then you already half-health someone. Congratulations. You've done it. And with the freeform dash of the Safeguard, too, you get to dash in and get some auto attacks before even landing Resonating Strike on the execute. So this champion's so consistent. I think this is the making of like a permaban champ, it feels like, until maybe it gets nerfed or something down the line, but hasn't been nerfed quite yet. So
yeah, I
know that makes you sad that we're talking about nerfing your favorite champ.
I know, man. I mean, like, but it is what it is. I mean, I said it right away when I first started playing Wild Rift in March when it came out in the Americas, and I said, dude, Lee Sin is by far the most broken jungler ever. Like, what is already strong in its counterpart, and the balance team has had, you know, difficulties trying to make it not OP in the competitive landscape. But as we are learning, and as we're learning in Wild Rift, is the same thing with its PC counterpart. I mean, Lee Sin is a champion where, unless you just make the numbers so damn horrible, it will always be a viable champion. Yeah. But it's not dependent on necessarily the meta, it's dependent on the pilot. And as long as the pilot is playing it to the very best of its ability, then it will always look good. Which is why, you know, for so long in North America, not many junglers were using it quite yet. But you look over in the C region, the Eastern regions, the Vietnamese junglers in Len, absolutely disgusting on the Lee Sin, and it's because they're incredibly active on constantly invading, constantly diving.
And it's not banned, so we might get to see it in this game again. Exciting stuff, because that's another part of it. We're talking about how broken this champion is. We also just love watching it, despite how broken it is. Like, if you're good at it, then it's gonna be great. Typically, in my experience, you don't want your pilots to be blind, but since Lee Sin is that blind monk, I think you can make an exception there.
I do like this pivot, though. This is nice.
Yeah. So that was banned in the last game, right? It was removed by Cloud9 themselves, but it looks like Griff has a lot of priority on this Varus. Will take it over Lee Sin and give that pick over to Yikes.
I mean, Yikes has other champions that they might want to go for, and when you think about the way that Immortals has played their game, they haven't necessarily gone for explosive early game pre-Scuttlecrab spawn plays. And just as I say that, Yikes is like, all right, shut up, Rafa. Let me show you my Lee Sin. This is how you actually play the blind monk. So I'm ready. We're starting to get, you know, all the junglers piling in to see who can battle out for best Lee Sin NA. And of course, you still have T-Tigers and Tybe waiting in the regional championship waiting room in October. So we'll have to. I want to start running a little side tournament at some point to see
Best
who
Lee
has
Sin.
the. Yeah.
And then you're the final boss. Ooh, okay. So this is I think this is the first for Cloud9. Maybe they played it yesterday. I'm actually drawing a blank. But they are pulling out this.
We'll get
brand.
confirmation on that.
Cool champ. This is another one of those stat stick champions where he doesn't have a lot of flashy things going on, but if you get in range and you don't kill him, then he will burn you to a crisp. He will put you in the fire pit and just cook you for breakfast and put you on some graham crackers and mush you together with a marshmallow.
Cook you on breakfast with graham crack? What kind of breakfast?
Oh, did I say
you
breakfast?
Yeah,
I meant. Okay, well, I don't know.
Are you still thinking about breakfast?
S'mores
Max?
for breakfast.
S'mores for breakfast. Damn. I mean, it's
an adventurous one. You know what? I'm gonna stand by it. Yeah, I eat
s'mores for breakfast. You know what? I want to live your life, Smacks. Immortals have gone for now. This was an interesting pivot. Normally, when you pick brand, you're wanting to wait and see when there's a bunch of beat balls that are going to be in your face because, as we talked about before during yesterday's major, brand loves being able to get in the faces of giant bruisers that can't really close the distance because they all clump together and then you get a bunch of max HP % damage shred. And they picked it early because I'm imagining that whenever you pick Senna, you want to pair it with a bunch of meatballs because that is where Senna thrives best. When Immortals see the brand and say, okay, you know what, we cannot get up close and personal. We need to make sure we're not picking up a bunch of bruisers. So even if they were thinking about a Senna Nasus combination, they pivot, they go for Xayah, who can dodge out on ultimate abilities thanks to the Featherstorm, and Iraqi Zoro locks in the Akali, who not only has the mobility to dodge out on these skills and these spells from Meals, but also being able to get away from the clump that would be devastating if the Pyroclasm comes into play. And the rest of Cloud9 go for some comfort picks, not only the Thresh once again for Jackie, but also the Graves and Tarzan.
There might still be a clump of Twisted Fate, Senna, and Xayah, but it's not the beefcakes that you're typically picking brand against, as you're saying. So it's an interesting situation for Meals to be in, and he's going to have to be quite creative to make it work for him. And likely will require the use of either Flash or potentially a Rocket Belt enchant to get in range of those backliners. Because, as we mentioned before, Brand, not a very mobile champion. So we can see him duking it out with Hoon. Tarzan has arrived alongside Yikes for the traditional exchange, but
whoa,
that's not traditional. Charm goes down.
And it goes over for Jackie as well. Jackie role swapping to support and saying, my support is better than yours, Charm. And I was originally the Dragon Laner.
Man. Some heat going down in that personal exchange there. In another exchange up the top side of the map. Gold card still connects.
Meals having the flash over the wall from the danger of Sonic Wave. I don't think it was going to land anyway, but Meals rather be safe than sorry. Scuttle Crab does win out by Cloud9. Immortals not being able to close the distance, and Iraqi Zoro suffering a lot of damage, but X landing this Resonating Strike onto Jackie, gets flayed back, Death Sentence connects. The rest of Cloud9 are able to join in with a beautiful Dark Passage, allowing Tarzan to get into the thick of the fray, but the rest of Immortals reinforcements come in, and they're able to collapse. Charm falls to Tarzan, but he goes down as well in the exchange.
Wow!
Looking for the Pillar of Flame, but a beautiful flash from Goom escapes the damage, and Griff has to get the hell out of it.
That was nasty from Goom as we're getting more fighting in the Baron lane. Araki's going to have to run, man. This is... Oh, okay. Okay. He's good. He's good. He's got barrier.
Whew.
Zello has to flash in response, but just a trade of some of her spells. Oh, man. Wait. Hold on.
Still has barrier. Oh, Raki.
Oh,
Don't be greedy, man.
No, man. You knew it was going to come. That feels avoidable to me.
That was the I mean, the wave was not in a great spot, but Iraqi Zoro, wanting to greed, was hoping that there's no way that Zell is going to be a bully and still be here, right? And unfortunately, calls wrong. But in this fight, this was absolutely crazy, Smacks.
Goom's feather placement is really cool here, and he makes sure of it as well with this flash after the fact. He's playing outside of the range of the Brand and the Varus the entire time, and gets to cut off everyone except for Griff, who gets to escape. You can see that all these kills now on Xayah means that the members of Immortals do have a very potent marksman for late game on their squad. And while the rest of their composition is built for mostly magic damage, I'd say, the Akali and Twisted Fate will provide a lot of that. You now have a conundrum for Cloud9 where you want to get both resistances and you want them very quickly, because that's a full Infinity Edge ready even before the neutral objectives are fought over.
Immortals, once again, matching toe for toe for Cloud9's aggression. And before, Immortals were kind of playing around Cloud9, reacting to the aggressive moves that they were making. Cloud9 technically have a composition that wouldn't mind just taking the game slow and scaling up. The more items you get on Brand, the more effective this champion just becomes. In a similar way to something like a Ziggs or even a Corki, where every item power spike just increases the threshold of how much damage in a teamfight setting this champion can put out. And I think we saw a game yesterday where Alk Battery and John Allen were casting, where the Brand just almost 1v9 the game despite still losing. Just everyone clumped up. The Pyroclasm can just do so much damage. As Immortals were able to get the first punch on the first brick through the Dragon turret. Tarzan still has this Rift Herald picked up, is going to save it for another push, as Yikes has found Zello.
That's a lot of damage onto the Gragas, but Stone Play and Flash means that Zello gets to walk away, or waddle, as Gragas does. Meanwhile, mid, Goom is getting burned down in the mid lane, and Iraqi much the same. Shot through the heart from Griff's piercing arrow. Nice kill for Cloud9, even though they had to run away on the other fronts.
Immortals still trying to keep in pace with Cloud9, as Cloud9 are really pushing the tempo despite being a composition that wants to come online much later, but the fact that they're trying to beat Immortals at the game where they'll be able to spike, and that's just so much damage from the collateral shot that Tarzan just blasted out. Being able to annihilate Charm once again. Dude, I feel like... I know it's probably not intentional, but it does feel intentional that Charm is like the one ending up with the most deaths from Cloud9 so far.
Feels vaguely personal when it comes down to the player relationships, I'm sure. I can't imagine that they ended on terrible terms. I've seen some nice banter between them, specifically on Twitter. I know that Immortals posted like an interview video with Charm yesterday that was really cool, and he said that he was excited to face Cloud9 as they are, as he called them, his rivals. So, okay, I feel like it's not too mean between them, at least on Charm's side.
It's not like the Hollywood like grudge rival gang kind of fights,
like the tabloids where every single week you get a new thing telling you that Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani are definitely going to divorce this time. You ever seen those in our grocery store? Like every single time we go, there's always a tabloid. That's
where do we make the jump to the voice judges though? That's
because those are the well, I think this is Iraqi Zoro gonna die.
Iraqi Zoro probably goes down here. Despite through barrier, perfect execution did not give him enough mobility to escape the 3-man onslaught through the Dragon lane. Actually, 4 members. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Cloud9 just really steamrolling the game this time around.
Can they even kill Zello here in response? I'm not sure.
Okay!
That's a sick kick, though, for Yikes, but this is still a really tanky Gragas. Yeah, they can't kill him. This champion is so bulky on the side of Cloud9 that Twin Shadow is coming at him, but that doesn't deal any damage.
Yeah, but the kick flash, you know what? They didn't get the kill, but kick flash is insanely harder to do. At least I'm assuming coming from a person that only just uses thumbs as buttons, because you have to press it so fast in succession. And at least the way my buttons are set up, my flash is very far apart from the ultimate ability.
Maybe you need to fix that, Mr. Lee Sin player. Yeah,
well,
maybe that's on you. I gotta get a better button layout.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm hard stuck.
Maybe it's because we haven't actually played in a bit. We do need to play. We've been casting too much. We got to get back to the grindstone.
True.
You know what? I'm scheduling it right now. Tomorrow, you, me, Alk Battery, trio queue all day. You ready?
Okay. All right.
Let's do it.
All right. Good call. Immortals. Right now, the grindstone is getting back in the lead here after Cloud9 have been successfully just demolishing turrets across the board. But off of that successful push in the mid lane, they eliminated 2 turrets, being able to collect a ton of gold back into their pockets. And suddenly, that 4,000 gold lead that Cloud9 had for a majority of the game has been equalized by Immortals by the 9-minute mark.
I have a feeling that Immortals are still in the lead right now. Because as you're saying, even though the fights have really been one-sided for Cloud9, they still are keeping it going as almost getting a pick off onto Griff. Now got to run away.
Tarzan threw out the collateral damage, and they've caught out Yikes. Stasis comes out. Explosive cast will break up the fight from Zello, and Immortals have already lost out on their jungle. But Iraqi Zoro with the flank here has perfect execution available, but needs to chunk out members first. He's not really getting a bunch of damage down before facing the death on his own. Has to reach out, but the pyroclasm is huge, spreading the passive damage from Brand, and it just explodes the members of Immortals. Cloud9 do drop a couple in response, and out of a crazy fight in the mid lane, neither team is strong enough to be able to look for an objective afterwards.
Goom is crazy on the Xayah, though. Do you see the way that this man is playing the team fight? The only thing that ended up being a head scratcher there was actually flashing over the wall, but he still dodged a skill shot, so in the end you can't question it too much as we get to see the way that Brand's damage interacts in a long, extended team fight. I'm sure if you checked the isolated team fight damage, it's at least 5 digits in something like this, because the fight just lasts so long, the passive gets to burn through everyone, and then you get to see this pyroclasm come through at the end onto all the backline members, spreading the passive. And you saw at the end that Goom did flash into the Raptor pit. I don't think that's exactly what he was intending to do, as he was almost going to clean up the entire team fight, but didn't end up managing it in the end. Still 4-0 on Xayah, but wasn't in the right position to clean up the fight.
Rockies are almost waiting for this pick. Hex Tech Gunblade plus Oblivion Orb is the build so far. So not necessarily straight up burst, it's more for the prolonged sustained fights. They locked up Jackie. Shuriken backflip connects, finds 1 kill. In favor of Immortals. Iraqi Zoro popping the stasis as well. Hoon with the flank with the Destiny, forcing Griff to pop his own stasis as well. And now they have rooted up the members of Cloud9. Already 3 are gone. Griff trying to fight back with Zello through the front line, but they just pierce through the front line.
Man.
Immortals don't give a damn. Despite dropping 1, they take out all 5 for an ace.
They're going to need to do some creative Baron juggling to take this, as Yikes is already at 100 HP. All right. Now it's Hoon's shift. Okay. Wait, oh no. Oh no. Wait, is this Tarzan? It is! You gotta run!
Did he teleport there? How did he get here so fast?
He
Oh my
teleported.
god.
Oh, okay. Yikes is gone. Wow. Oh my god, C9's doing it now.
Oh, well, Tarzan has Navori Quick Blades and Bloodthirster, so he will be able to sustain through this Baron take. He's actually doing a decent amount of damage to it. Now that Mealis is here, they can burn down this Baron, but Yikes is still here. He is Lee Sin. We have seen Lee Sin steal objectives before. 2k HP. They peel off to the Baron. Iraqi Zoro will be the target. Dawning Shadow comes through still. 2k HP on the Baron. Zello has to defend this. Yikes goes in with the Resonating Strike. They kill Tarzan.
Whoa!
He steals the Baron! And Immortals were going to pop off as they've routed off the Cloud9 jungler and the Baron laner. Meals, Jackie, and Griff on the run, but the rest of the Immortals are following hot pursuit. We're not going to look at that one. We're just going to pretend that you did not just hit the honey fruit, but it's okay because Yikes has your back with the triple. Stasis pop from Meals. 1 more auto attack. Immortals will advance to the grand finals.
They're doing it, Rafa. Immortals take this series in a 2-0 sweep. And Yikes is Lee Sin. He made